Hello players, welcome back. This is your boy Jaystiqs coming at you with another video. Hold up, let me change the light. Let me fix the light. Boom. In this video, we're going to figure out one of the most asked questions ever. How do I get faster on the drums? 5 steps which you can take to actually boost your speed on the drums. Before we start this whole thing, you know, and I know that we don't like listening to theory videos. We just want the demonstration of the thing, how to do the right, left, right, and stuff. Then I can go apply it to my drumming. But it's important to learn the theory behind the thing, because usually that is the part that you would apply to your whole drumming career or your whole drumming life. And the little feel that you learn, you just be able to use it in a few instances. So enough of the rant. Let's get into it, shall we? Step number 1, learn the proper technique. We talk about technique. Say that 5 times fast. Technique. Oh, it's not that difficult. Come on now. We talk about technique a lot because technique is important. So the whole thing about technique is a set of ways or procedures that have been proven to help you play drums better, faster, and not hurt yourself in the process. Because you can play drums any way you want to, but it's probably going to affect your muscles in some way because you're not doing it in the right way. That makes it the easiest and the least strain on your body. So let's take the arm, right? We have 3 parts of the arm when it comes to technique. We have the arm, the wrists, and the fingers when we are playing drums with our hands. Unless there's some way you figured out to play drums with your mind. Like, paradiddle. If you figured out a way, leave it in the comments. I would like to know. I would just like to know. So with this, there are 3 ways to play anything you're playing with your hands. So let's say you're playing a simple single stroke roll, right? You can play it with your arm. You'll notice that the speed you can achieve with it is limited. It's actually very limited. But let's say you want to go a faster speed. Then you would have to switch to your wrists and use the wrist technique. And again with this, we can see that the speed is still capped to a limit because you can only move your wrists so far until like your hands start to hurt. So now you want to increase your speed to a higher level, you switch to your fingers. Because the fingers don't rely on their own movements, they rely on the bounce from the drums and their own movements in addition. So your speed can increase exponentially when you use your fingers. But if you're trying to move around the drums, you wouldn't be using your fingers to move around the drums. You would use your arms to move around the drums. Then maybe you're doing the fast things with your fingers. Then maybe you're doing the slower things with your wrists. So you can see how the various portions of your body mix and match, but then you would only know to do these things if you have the proper technique, if you've worked on the finger techniques, if you've worked on the wrist techniques, if you've worked on moving your arms the right way. So that's why technique is really, really important before you can actually start building speed, because that's the basis on which you would build the other things. So you're done with the technique, you figured out what to do with your arms, your wrists, and the thing. Next up, you have to find your comfortable speed. By comfortable speed, we mean the speed at which you can play without hurting yourself. You can go for as long as possible without making any sort of little mistakes. Because if you try to get to a higher speed and it is sloppy, there are a lot of mistakes and stuff. You're not comfortable at that speed. So find a speed that you are comfortable at. Then from there we can build on it. Because you are okay with that, now you have to find other ways to make the higher speed comfortable. Step number 3, practice the single stroke roll. Very important. Most people nowadays don't think the single stroke roll is important. They're like, I need to learn the paradiddle and the flam diddle and the cross back, cross stick, flat back. But I think it's actually really, really important. Because think of it. A lot of what we do on the drums is just single strokes. To be honest, when you're playing the hi-hat and the snare, it's usually just alternating single stroke that you're doing. When you decide to start a drum fill, when you decide to do some things on the tones. So that's why you have to really study the single stroke and get very comfortable with low speeds and high speeds, because the single stroke roll is actually really powerful. There's a video here that I break down the single stroke roll, and I use it in a whole lot of applications, fast and slow. That makes you see how powerful it is, and it's easy to start out, it's easy to figure out. So if you're able to master fast singles, I think you're good, because the movement of fast single stroke roll with your fingers is basically the same movement you would do with the double stroke roll. Maybe flams are a little different, fast flams are a little different, but those are other things that you would get to in your quest for developing speed. But to start out, I think the single stroke roll is the most important thing to build your speed in terms of rudiments. So check it out. Step number 4, use a metronome. Imagine you have a car, right? And the car doesn't have a speedometer. How do you know how fast you're going? So the speedometer on the car is not just for fun. It wasn't created because the car manufacturer was like, you know what will be fun? If we put some dials and some thing moving up and down, so it just makes the place look nice and beautiful. No, the speedometer is actually very important. When you're going down the road at high speed and the policeman stops you and he's like, hey there, son, do you know how fast you was going down the road? Then you're like, The speedometer would tell you that you were going fast because he checked it and he saw that you were going 120 or 280. The same is true for drumming, not the policeman part. You're able to gauge your speed using the metronome. So with the metronome, you can make a mental note of your comfortable speed. Coming back to the point of comfortable speed, the speed at which everything is smooth and you're not hurting yourself, and you can stay at that speed for a long period of time. So when you come back to practice another day, you'll be able to determine if you're making progress, because you know your original speed and you know the speed at which you're trying out today. And if you get comfortable at the new speed, then you know you're making progress. But if you don't have a metronome or you don't track your practice with a metronome, you don't know how fast you're going. So you go and come back and you don't know if you made any progress. You don't know if the speed you're playing at right now is even slower than what you were playing, because there's no way of tracking it. That is why the metronome is very important. Step number 5, increase your speed slowly. Most of us will think, well, I need to get from 100 to 150 very fast. So, you know what? I'm going to play 100, then I try 150. If it doesn't work, we'll figure it out. A lot of the time, it's the small increments that make the most impact. Because let's say your comfortable speed is 100, right? 100. Then you increase it to 105. So now you can play comfortably at 105. Then you go to 110, 115, 120. If you had jumped straight from 100 to 120, you might not be able to sustain the level of smoothness of 120 at that speed. But from 110 to 105, it's not that much of a distance. So your body is able to adjust to the change in speed. Before you realize, you're playing really fast, but you're comfortable with the speed. That's the idea. You need to be comfortable with the speed. So you have to be able to go for long periods of time without making too many mistakes and not hurting yourself. That's the basic idea of building speed. With that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was informative enough for you. Check out my app, the Drum Just Builder app. The link is down in the description, right below the like button. It helps you to save your drum ideas, save your patterns, and all the creative juices that flow through you. You can save it on your phone when you don't have drums around and go practice later. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to be notified every single time there's a new video if you're not subscribed already, and hit the like button. Show some love. This has been your boy Jaystiqs, and stick with it. Stick with it. Peace.